when we're talking about the infrastructure and the alignment that is going to be needed going forward, and I appreciate some of the specifics that you've outlined here just with Senator Hoeven, but as you know, within the state of Alaska, we have an extraordinary piece of energy infrastructure, and that's our Trans-Alaska Pipeline. Right now, we're moving about 500,000 barrels a day. But in looking at your forecast here, you project 420,000 barrels a day by 2020, 320,000 barrels per day in 2025, and then just 180,000 barrels a day when we hit 2035, which is a terrifying prospect for us right now, because the concern is that there gets to a point where that throughput is so low, it brings into question the ability of that pipeline to function safely as we need it to be. And if it cannot function safely, then you stop moving the oil through the line. And when you stop moving the oil through the line, the law requires that we decommission that incredible energy infrastructure. And for those that wonder how long it might take to permit a new Trans-Alaska Pipeline, I don't even want to speculate about where that might take us. So when we're talking about infrastructure and the need to realign, I think we also need to recognize that we have very good infrastructure that effectively needs to be filled up in Alaska's case. So the question to you this morning is, in your reference case, I'm assuming that you have factored in kind of a steady state in federal policy.
Correct.
Some of what we're dealing with in Alaska, of course, is being able to access other areas, other federal areas, so that we can fill up that pipeline, whether it may be the ANWR area, whether it is our offshore prospects, or being able to tap into some resources within the National Petroleum Reserve. But how does the issue of access factor into your projections?
Well, we do follow existing law and regulation, and unless there are changes to the ability to lease in the Arctic refuge, for example, or we see other things like lowering in the cost of doing shale oil developments. There are shale oils on the north slope of Alaska. That right now it seems in our models uneconomic to do that. It's kind of, you know, at $100 it was getting closer, at $60 or $75, maybe not as much. But those sorts of things would enter into those calculations. Senator, we did do a study specifically of the Alaska oil pipeline in, I think it was the 2013 annual energy outlook, where we highlighted the fact that that there could be a step change down at some point as production flow through the Trans-Alaska Pipeline gets down to about 300,000 barrels a day. The mechanical ability of the pumps to work at that level of throughput comes into question, and it's very possible that it would have to drop. It was one of the things that we thought should be looked at, because, you know, a change of 300 to 500,000 barrels a day in the global oil markets is enough to make a difference, and it was something that we wanted to look at. I understand your concern. It's policy issues. That's another one of those policy issues that EIA generally tries to provide the facts so that people can understand what's happening, but not a recommendation to.
Well, and that is greatly appreciated, but I think it is important for people to not assume that this is just going to be continuing with a flow from the north if we can't have access to these resources, those reserves that are in fact in place up there.